Stopping the Violence in America. Welcome everyone again. We are always grateful to our audience and all the brothers and sisters who come, because this is one of the most important topics that is plaguing the United States and the world arena, and that's violence. Originally, we began this segment and this webinar by dealing with gun violence in America. And but we kind of took it to, yes, let's deal with gun violence, but let's deal with the root causes of violence that is plaguing America today. So I would like to, today, I will be your speaker. Amen. God bless you. Today I decided we didn't have anyone to, I don't have my window, if there's any background noise?
Nope, you're good.
Okay, great. So today I decided, after all these illustrious speakers that we've had some great speakers on recently, from the beginning, actually dealing with law enforcement and community activists, religious leaders, those people, community leaders, all those people, political leaders, all of them have come on and they've shared their hopes and strengths with us in their plight and the avenues they took to help reduce crime in our communities and in America as a whole. Today, I was looking at the internet and I saw an article, and the article struck me, and that was the issue of the Stand Your Ground law. And so I wanted to delve into that and have an open discussion about that, because it has a couple of avenues that it deals with. The original avenue that I looked at was, it was sharing that within these blighted communities, or these communities that are at risk, that they're saying maybe that stand-up law, stand your ground law, might be applicable because people are confronted daily with situations that will cause harm to them or their families. So today I'm going to start off with, I can share my screen. Can you see my screen? Yeah, okay, excellent. Okay, so let me move this here because I can't see. So let me start off with kind of like an overview of what we've been hearing thus so far. So from the CDV, the Center of Disease and Control, on the topic of community violence. Community violence happens between unrelated individuals who may or may not know each other, generally outside the home. Examples include assaults or fights among groups and shootings in public places, such as schools or on the street. Research indicates that youth and young adults from the age of 11 to 34, particularly those in the community of color, are disproportionately impacted. Community violence takes lives and leaves lasting legacy of trauma. It must be prevented. Homicide and other violent acts are causing substantial harm in communities across the country, especially in racially segregated and high poverty neighborhoods. The physical, emotional, and financial pain from violence cascades from individuals to their families and communities, including children. Community violence is a critical public health problem in the United States. The rates of violent types are increasing. I got this research, this is back in 2020. I don't know exactly what it is now. There are nearly 25,000 lives have been lost in homicide. Homicide rates are increasing. In the last year, homicide rates increased in many areas of the nation. Data shows significant increases in homicide rates in 2020 compared to 2019. Violence affects us all. Community violence affects millions of people and their families, schools, and communities every year. Community violence can cause significant physical injuries, mental health conditions such as depressions, anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. Living in a community experiencing violence is almost associated with increased risk of developing chronic diseases. Concerns about violence may prevent some people from engaging in healthy behaviors, such as walking, bicycling, using parks and recreational spaces, and accessing healthy food outlets. Violence scares people out of participating in neighborhoods activities, limits business growth and prosperity, strains education, justice, and medical systems, and slows community progress. America, I don't care. Can you see the top there? America, I can't see with my thing. Top. Can you see that? The
Yep.
top, what is it? Read.
America's youth and young adults are
Especially vulnerable to community violence. 1.4 million people treated for assault in the emergency departments. Over half of the US homicide occurred among people aged 15 to 34 in 2020. Encourage community members in prevention efforts. Now, this is what we've always come into conclusion in all of our great speakers. Community leaders can work collaboratively with community residents and those impacted by violence, such as young people with lived experience of violence, to develop violence prevention efforts, partnering with community members, law enforcement, religious leaders, and community activists to select, implement, and monitor prevention activities helps to ensure the efforts are communities driven and effective at preventing and reducing community violence. Now, this segues, that was a little overview that we went over, and we can see that it's a very serious problem that is plaguing America, ultimately plaguing the world. So the topic is, the discussion is going to be on stand your ground law. A stand your ground law, sometimes called a line in the sand, or no duty to retreat law, provides that people may use deadly force when they reasonably believe it is to be necessary to defend against certain violent crimes, right of self-defense. Under such a law, people have no duty to retreat before using deadly force in self-defense, so long as they are in a place where they are lawfully present. Stand your ground. Laws generally give individuals a license to use deadly force in response to a threat or physical force without the fear of serving a prison sentence, while on the surface of the law gives individuals the right to protect themselves. They can provide a literal get out of the jail pass for those who use them as a legal justification. Now, I don't want to go into the next part, but that really, the next sentence really, in which all of the, on an internet to research the whole concept of stand your own ground, it always segues into the racial divide in America. But to me, it's not only the racial divide, but it will be dealing with, real live facts that people are intimidated and people are fearing for their lives in certain communities. The racial disparity is justifiable homicide under the stand your ground law. In tweet, Florida Democratic gubernatorial candidate Andrew Gillum did not mince words, noting that the law is being used by vigilantes to turn themselves into judge, jury, and executioner. While people may claim self-defense on a reasonably perceived threat, what is reasonable in a society where we've seen whites hovering over racism or implicit biases perceive people of color as suspicious or criminals who must be terminated or at the very least apprehended. The racial disparity as justifiable homicide under the Stand Your Law only supports the notion that this law was designed to benefit white shooters and not gun owners of color. According to the Urban Institute, when both the shooters and victims are white, 11% of these cases are ruled justifiable. When both the parties are Black, the rate is 8%. However, when the shooter is white and the victim is Black, the rate of justification homicide is 34%. But when the shooter is Black and the victim is white, the rate is 3%. Fear and chaos in Black and minority communities. Does their safety warrant the use of stand your ground law as well? That belief seems to be gaining traction. According to a 2014 Pew Research study, the number of African Americans who believe gun ownership does more to protect people than endanger them nearly doubled in 2 years. And even as it urged its members to exercise their right to keep, the thugs, gangbangers, illegal immigrants, and terrorists at bay, the NRA broadened its outreach to ethnic communities. One of its spokesmen is a lawyer and gun rights activist, Colion Noor, who has become well known for his appearance on NRA TV. Now, mass shooting in the United States. This is another topic that I feel deals with the whole notion of stand your ground law. Mass shootings are incidents involving multiple victims of firearms-related violence. One definition is an act of public firearm violence, excluding gangs, killings, domestic violence, or terrorist acts sponsored by an organization in which a shooter kills at least 4 victims. Using this definition, a 2016 study found that nearly 1/3 of the world's public mass shooting between 1966 and 2012, 90 of the 292 incidents occurred in the United States. In 2017, the New York Times recorded the same total of mass shooting for the span of years. A 2023 report published in JAMA covering 2014 to 2022 found that there had been 4,011 mass shootings in the United States, most frequent around the southeastern US and Illinois. This was true for mass shootings that were crime, violence, social violence, and domestic violence related. The highest rate was found in the District of Columbia, where I'm sitting right now, and 10 to 4 shootings per 1 million people, followed by Louisiana, there's 4 to 2 mass shootings per million, and Illinois. Mass shootings and the stand your ground law. Recent reports by RAND Corporation, in it, they concluded opens in a new tab. Oh, excuse me, I thought I got rid of that. Oh, sorry about that. That the stand your ground law, which declared that people may use deadly force when it is reasonably necessary to defend against certain violent crimes, increase firearm-related homicides. You may be surprised to learn that each year, stand your ground laws account for more firearm-related deaths than all mass shootings combined. These laws promote vigilante justice, needless escalation of interpersonal conflicts, and are an increasing threat to the public health and safety. Stand your ground laws must be repealed. This is just a few views that I picked up But I know that some others, as we have shared before with one of our speakers who were saying that if people know that the audience has pistols on them, then they will be more. It would be a reduction of them to come in and think that they could begin to shoot at someone in a crowd when they know that they will be shot at again immediately. So there's different views of what I just share with you. Also, I want to open up the discussion. A lot of this stand your ground law is centered around the racial disparities, the racial conflict. A lot of the original laws they're proclaiming that was a law that was only privy to white men at one time in history. However, in reality, as we go forward in today's society, where we see the escalation of violence everywhere, and as you see, it's disproportionately found a lot of it in the Black and minority communities, where we have learned and we've heard a lot of people walk around in those communities who are innocent bystanders who walk around in fear as well. So the question, and I couldn't find my article. For some reason, I lost my article, Nadia, which inspired me to do this. I couldn't find it, but what that article did say that sparked me was that it was coming from a different viewpoint, not only the racial viewpoint of how many Black men are targeted with those who might feel that they, through their racial biases, have the privilege to shoot someone because they don't like that person or they have suspicions upon these purposes. But also there's another twist and turn that I would like to discuss as well, is that, we come into these communities, in those communities, people have a lot of fear. As we said in the earlier part, the CDC said that it prevents people from going out, prevents people from going out for their health, for socialization, because they're scared to walk out their door, or fear someone's going to come knocking at their door. In those communities, they're more at risk than others. And therefore, does it stand alone, the stand your ground law apply to them, or should it apply to them? What are the yays and nays? What are the pros and cons to what you think that is? And then also, as we go on, we can see that there's a lot of information that is talking about that usually Black males are more targeted to be shot because there's those people who feel they want to take their law in their hands based on what they might have been intimidated with, or they might feel just out of pure unadulterated suspicion. I don't know. But so I wanted to open up our discussion with this whole stand your ground law. And what do you feel about it? I think what I did, hold it. I'm sorry, brothers and sisters. I forgot one part. Let me go here. What's your view? I knew I missed something, but God bless you. Thank you for listening. And I'm looking forward for an innovative conversation and discussion. Floor is open. Oh, did you see that? You guys didn't see that, right?
Nope.
Oh, I gotta put it up. That's just part of it.
Share again. Yeah.
There you go.
There it is.
Yeah. What's your view?
Got it.
Yeah.
Hey, we have Wayne Hankins.
Wayne, welcome to the stage.
Oh, thank you. This is a very important topic. It's thought-provoking, and it's right in our face. We deal with this of the violence every day. But my comment is to link it to a worldview where it's more than just individuals taking action that they think is necessary. Marxism permeates everything in our society. And one of the key things with Marxism, communism, is that all power comes out of the barrel of a gun, that only force is the needed to make social change. And you're justified in using force in any manner that you want if it furthers a social agenda, which Marxism is completely about. We have that choice, and we have the choice of love. And I know churches emphasize love all the time, but the power of love is real. And I think we need to do a better job in understanding it, living it, practicing, and preaching about it. The topic is about worldviews, and it's about values. And I think Marxism has to be brought into the conversation for the reasons that I mentioned. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. How do you see more succinctly Marxism playing a role in, I think I brought up two pertinent points, or three. Basically, the reality is that we're plagued by violence, and we see it every day. Next is, there are communities that are more at risk for violence, and there are people who might need to feel that they need to take up arms just to protect their homes. There's other statistics that I didn't bring up were saying that those people in some of those minority neighborhoods a lot of times have guns, but they don't use them. Only they use it for, they feel if their life is threatening. So they're not going out because I have a gun. Now I'm going to be, wide open and just shoot anybody I feel. And then secondly, what about this? I was trying to look for more of a objective articles on, the stand your ground laws, but all of them always went back to this whole racial disparity that goes on in America. And I just read article after article, and I really didn't want to go there, but it's a reality also. And then of course the mass shooting is a reality, and has nothing to do mostly by race, but it has to do with mental health issues that we have not dealt with in America. A lot of those people have had mental health issues that would allow them to go and just mass shoot children in public areas. So how do you see that? How do you see Marxism working in that fashion?
It is a framework or a background to it. As you've brought it out and explained it, the mass shootings and the violence in the inner city and violent prone areas, doesn't go into that realm so much. But I think that the message that Marxism, communism is giving is kind of a subliminal message that violence is okay. And that has been in our school system for quite some time. And I tend to believe that it does impact people feeling the justification of it, because it's done on an international level, it's done on a national level. And so why can't I do it on the individual level?
Yes, thank you, Wayne. Maybe we can pull Donna in, since she made her statement about the value system that the left or the communist ideology undertakes, and that's atheistic viewpoint. Hi, Donna. Welcome, Pastor.
Hi. I've wrestled with this one a very long time, because in 1990 I cooperated with a 40 days exchange program to go to Sri Lanka. At that time, the Tamil Marxists were at the top of the Sri Lankan island. And I had to think through, well, what's going on the world scene? And we were very active in trying to understand the role of Marxism to overthrow democracy, and especially the United States, And when somebody said subliminal, we're unaware actually how deeply materialism feeds Marxism. And also these gaming programs that my grandchildren are involved in and other people around sort of make it okay. Even I like whodunits. A lot of times there's just a lot of noise and a lot of gunfire, but that normalizes the gun as if it's okay. And then when you put prejudice and lack of discernment behind it, I was raised in South Texas. So in South Texas, you carry a gun because you never know when you need it for a variety of reasons. But people hunt, and in Alaska, people hunt. And even my grandson, who's 10, just finished his first gun safety program. I have a friend who's involved with a women's group that's Mothers Against Gun Violence, about teaching young people about guns and about teaching parents and adults how to address guns in America, because it's truly an issue. The pros and cons of a gun. And behind the gun is violent behaviors. Hatred that's unspoken is unhealed. And many times there's a hatred of sorts in people's hearts, and resentment and anger. And these things need to be brought forward in order to heal them in the community, is my honest belief. Because think of it, in our homes, if they're not brought forward, there's constant conflict.
Very well said. Thank you. I agree. Yeah, I saw unresolved healing is very important to take focus on. I just saw a video yesterday in Montgomery, Alabama, where there was a brawl at like a seaport area between white and black, fist fighting. And I saw clearly that it wasn't them fighting. It was the unresolved issue fight.
Yes.
And I can tell when, hoodlums are being hoodlums, or this time I watched the whole thing and I said, no, this is a real unresolved issue that needs to be focused on. And it's important that we deal with it to bring the proper healing, because the escalation was a brawl. I mean, they were fist fighting and carrying on between black and white. I couldn't believe it, but I look, tears was coming to my eyes, Donna, because I saw, no, we didn't heal something, that's what it really is, because we're really brothers and sisters, but we didn't heal something. And then something needs to be healed, and it escalates in violence. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Thank you, Wayne, for your comments. The door is still open. We had those who missed. I did a PowerPoint on the stand your ground laws, and went over a little bit of some of the points that CDC has made. I mean, it's a lot of the violence. We realize that there's a phenomenal number of young people who are between the age of, 15 and 34. A large percentage of that. So anyone else like to share? The floor is open.
I can say something if I may. It's like I think it's mainly the problem is mainly in America, because it's not a black and white issue all over the world. I went several years in Africa because I teach English there. So usually by Zoom, but when I go and visit the students, and And there's not this hatred like that. On the contrary, even during COVID, where I was the only white left on the in the whole country, really. Even I was in Brazzaville, but I went also to Pointe Noire, and it was the same thing. Nobody was trying to attack me, or and they knew that I was different, because when I passed in the car, they would shout Mondele. Mondele means like the white one. So they knew that I was there, but there was no aggressivity, and people don't fight. There's a lot of stealing, but it's black on black. There's a problem of absolute poverty. But here, where the poverty is not even comparable, people would think that broke are really not broke at all compared to Africa. But the animosity is very strange, and I live in a very mixed area for years. It has never been like this. This is agitated by somebody crazy, because I live in Rogers Park, in Chicago, and it has always been very mixed. That's why I liked it. You get people from all over the world, very, very mixed, and it was particularly harmonious. But now, all of a sudden, if there is any little issue, the smallest thing, immediately people pull out their phone and they're trying to film it to make a problem. It's just unbearable. And you absolutely cannot get out of your house after 7 at night. I mean, you can if you want to, but at your own risk. For sure that your phone, your money will be stolen, and if you're hurt, then it'll be your fault. But so it's not good in America, but it's not necessarily a black and white issue, because like in Africa, it's not really happening. And at least I only went to Benin and Congo, Brazzaville, but over there was very well integrated. The few Caucasians were there, but I think the issue is like in Africa, they are very religious. Even though they're poor, they would have perfectly a reason to accuse God. How come I'm poor? No, they just absolutely love God. Nothing knocks God out of their life. Unbelievable. Well, in America, especially after the last 2 years, where the church is closed and people not socializing as religious groups, the mentality plus the idiotic news went down, way down. So people are not even remembering anymore. There is another way to look at it. So that's they look at it in a political way, in a racist way, and not at all including. God is not in the conversation. So that is the drama of America. We have to find a way to make universal spirituality, not just pull them in our side or our idea of what spirituality is, but a more general presentation of God, the universal God. And so that might be helpful. Otherwise, we are going way down the drain right here. And we are one of these cities that just want to invite the immigrants. So we are crowded with immigrants sleeping on the street, anywhere, on the floor. And it's usually trying to sleep by the police station to be a bit protected. But it's a catastrophe, because now we have another issue on top of the black and white problem. We have also what to expect for the immigrants. Some of them seem fairly reasonable who came. Some of them are not at all, and they're already into stealing. And so, yeah, we got lots of issues. That's why I don't even know where we should really begin, except like to pray, like, God, do something. Come off Africa for 5 minutes and come and help America, because this is where it's a model for the rest of the world. Everybody's looking. And if we go down anymore, then I think eventually we're going to hurt even Africa, and it's a beautiful thing.
Said a mouthful. Goes back to what Wayne had said in reference to where this where does the Marxism focus, where how they play a part in this ordeal? And I can see it because two things. America, as you said, I'm glad you said that, should have been from the beginning the prototype and the model for the world to follow.
Absolutely.
And we have not. So I think our ability to heal or our failure to heal the black and white problem is where it lies, because we're all brothers and sisters. And God doesn't make a mistake when he brought the two, especially two black and white. And the difference between the African and African Americans, and we've been here for 400 years, and we have been enculturated differently.
Mhm.
And I believe we were here to play a really crucial role
Mhm.
in bridging between black and white so that we can be the example for the world. And so I appreciate that, where the left uses that black and white issue, because the fact that when something is unresolved, meaning something really did happen,
Mm.
right? Something happened that is painful if it's not been resolved. And see, the left knows it's not been resolved, and it knows why it's not been resolved. So they use that as their platform to ignite more fire and put a flame to something so that they can continue with their own agenda, their nefarious agenda that has nothing to do with true healing. So it's incumbent upon us who understand this. What do we really need to do to heal, to restore, to rectify, to bring, some reconciliation to the picture? And that's where the rubber finally meets the road for me. What have we not done? We have not done enough to bring the healing between black and white in America. And I think we, as the religious people, we have a duty to do that, and we have the capability to do that, centered on God. Anybody else? Thank you, Claudine. Always good to see you.
Same here. But I must say, like, it's the African Americans are not, is not a majority that is doing that. It's really the majority of the African Americans that have been there decades are perfectly integrated and very religious and very nice and perfectly adapt to everybody else who lives here. So it's a minority. It's completely manipulation of, like you say, I guess definitely political. It is communism coming back again, and what to do. I think the Black Americans in the churches, some of them are trying hard to tackle the issue, because they don't want their children to copy the mentality of hell. So there's a very good pastors who are trying to keep the community compact. And one thing that has damaged particularly the Black community in Chicago and maybe is the fact that a few years ago, of many decades ago, but in the 60s, they decided to, do you remember, they decided to give money to the women. They had children, but didn't have a husband. And that was a catastrophic idea. It collapsed the entire situation, because then their friends could see that they were getting money from the government, a lot, for just not having a husband. So they decided to kick out their own, whoever was living there as father of the children, and to be alone to get the money. And so it created so many thousands and thousands of children of all ages with no father at home. And that's when everything completely changed. There is no discipline. I mean, you need a disciplinarian at home. And it's not easy for a woman alone with several children, because the more they pay, the more they would have children, to control the situation, especially as the children with no father, no control. who get out in the street and create an extra family gangs. That's it. So that's what I say at the beginning of the problem was, and it's not, there is still no solution to that. What do you think?
I think I make a parallel. Aid in Africa is the same thing. If you keep giving people something, you become the owner, and you also make people dependent. We have to create people who can help be, self-sufficient. There should be training programs, but they have not. So yes, I remember growing up in the 60s, some of my friends, they were a single mother. So I'm over the house and they have a boyfriend, but the boyfriend had to leave because the social worker came to see if
Exactly.
and then clothes in the closet. And if they found clothes in the closet, she loses her money. So what is that all about? That's, I think everybody should read the Moynihan report. That was written, Moynihan, the Moynihan report. He was senator or congressman. He predicted what we see today in the projects, what we see today in this dysfunctioning Black community. He predicted it would be that way if we keep giving people a welfare, but not giving them another access. You see, it's not just not giving them welfare. It's the beginning. Why don't you give the proper access? Now, just for the history, I'm doing a lot of reading. Our Black Americans have been working on access diligently and wanted to assimilate and become one with everyone since the 1700s. They've been fighting. It didn't start with Martin Luther King. I can go by historical facts. They have been fighting for that, for let's be one family. And it's written, it's documented. So that's the issue there. And, I do a paper, what if? What if that was allowed? What if we didn't have the Jim Crow law? What if we really understood the Reconstruction period, how God was making an opportunity and a platform for us all to come together? Would that also play a very critical role in the violence that we see in our communities? It all works out in our. Anyone else? Going back to the topic, which is really stand your grounds. Thank you, Claudine. Thank you so much.
Thank you for
Yes.
that. Thank
Yeah.
you.
We have Ray McCready with his hand up.
Ray, welcome.
Thank you, Zachary. It is so good to see you every Wednesday, except for sometimes you're in Africa doing things and can't get on. But no, I was appreciative because of you. I went on my other computer and I live in Washington State. I live in Seattle. And I was thinking, I don't think we have a stand your ground law. And what do you know? We do actually have it here in Washington State. I didn't even realize it. I was a little surprised by, Zachary, your choice of the stand your ground law, but as I understood what you said, due to your research, it seemed to be connected to certain acts of violence. And I could see that where it kind of creates, I think Wayne Hankins alluded to, certain mindset. Well, yeah, I would just say a main divide in my mind of all this stuff is culture. There's the acculturation, as Sister Donna pointed out, about violent video games and all this, and I do worry about the impact of that. I grew up in a household with, some issues with alcoholism and stuff. And therefore, at a certain point, I decided I'm not going to go out and buy a gun because, it just seemed like, better not to have it available. I got to rely on the protection of the Holy Spirit, as they say. And that does, I think, I live in a fairly safe area, so it's not that challenging. Here's one example, though, like in Seattle, originally when my wife and I looked for a house, we were looking in South Seattle because my wife's from Japan. That we're a mixed family, and I like the mixed area in South Seattle. It's a much more culturally mixed. There's people from many But actually, when my real estate agent gave me the crime statistics in Seattle, and it shook my mind because there was a lot more crime in South Seattle. And a lot of times I would work many hours, come home very late. So I ended up buying a home in North Seattle, where it's statistically a lot safer. So culture, but from your previous programs, if this is like a kind of a summary or talking about how do you stop the violence, I think you've done a great job, and a lot of your guests done a great. It's the culture, and there's these cultures area by area. Even here in Seattle, there's areas, right? There's some areas you better not think of going to, or at a certain point, or you can go there, but you better have your stuff together, So that's what comes to me. I'm going to study more about the stand your ground law. To me, it's also access to firearms, and it's also your mindset. And I was really brokenhearted by many people, as you pointed out, in areas where there's a lot of poverty, and especially in Black and brown areas, where there's so little opportunity. Up here, when people become a teenager, they just can go out and get a job at a grocery store or whatever. But if you're in an area where they don't even have a grocery store, where are you going to get a job? So what are you going to go down to the corner, right? Hey, what's the job? Hey, we'll run this stuff over there and we'll pay you some money, So I think this program has touched on a lot of these issues. It's important. You have, the physical reality. I think you some time ago talked about opportunity zones. We have to kind of like work on these things, and really grateful for the true politicians that are actually trying to help people with their real problems instead of posturing and dividing people with their rhetoric, which I'm really tired of, actually. And then so those are my comments. I'm grateful to live in a fairly safe area, and it's daunting though, because you do hear a lot of things from different places. In Seattle, there are now shootings in Seattle. They're down in Tacoma, where my son lives. So yeah, that's why I listen to the program. And sometimes when I'm out talking to people on the street, you meet people that are broken. And the one person I did meet that her cousin had been shot was an African-American young lady, and really affected her. And so I'm going to try to send her a copy of some of your programs, some recordings, because unfortunately and realistically, a lot of times if people aren't experiencing it more directly, it kind of seems a little far off, right? So I appreciate your program and all the discussion here today. Thank you very much.
Appreciate your comments. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, it is true. Sometimes we can be detached from it because we're not there, and it's one of the as the CDD said, that in the prevention process, it's imperative if we those who will help, those youth that could be helpful, are those who have had those experiences, violent, and come out of a violent experiences, so they can be much more help in the area of prevention. So you're correct. Thank you so much for that. I know that Andrea has said something, and I can read it. Everybody can read it, but I'll read it for our live audience. She said, atheism is a fundamental problem because without knowing God, we do not know each other's worth. But materialistic atheism is as great a threat as the ideological atheistic belief on the left. Without God, we have a distorted awareness of self-value, the value of others, and of our environment. Father Moon has said that the far right and the far left are in the same camp. As for the stand for your ground law, it opens wider the path of justification, one of the greatest human weaknesses. That is a great point. We like to rationalize and justify some of our behaviors because it's harder to delve into the innermost self and deal with the truth of why I really behave the way I behave, you know. So sometimes we're in denial, we want to justify. She's right. Justification is one of the greatest human weakness. Anyone else? The floor is open. Call somebody. Oh, Stephen Childs. Well, welcome, Steve, from Las Vegas.
Yes, hi, everybody. I've been hearing about this program, hearing about it. And so finally I saw Stop the Violence. So I came right away because we just, by the way, at Las Vegas, we go to the Chuncheon in the morning and these kids just got back from what's called the African American Project. They were second gen, they went there. And they had life-changing experiences. They saw what real poverty was, and they came back filled with a desire to do something about that. You know, not that we don't have our own form of real poverty, but it's a grinding, heavy poverty there in Africa. But that's not what I wanted to talk about. What I wanted to talk about is that we just had this event in North Las Vegas, and it was actually the way I heard about you, Zachary, is through your good friend, Reverend David Reed. So Reverend David Reed and Catherine Duncan, this is really their project, but it was called Stop the Violence. That's why when I saw on the on my email, you know, Stop the Violence, I thought, oh wait, that's our baby there, you know. But it was called Stop the Violence Through Blessing the Families, and we held this event on the. It was a little bit after the anniversary of Martin Luther King's assassination, and it was in the Martin Luther King's Senior Center, and what happened is that we said stop. We had a big banner and said stop the violence through blessing the families. And then Reverend David Reed, I really wish he was on here to say it, because he got up there and spoke. He was like the keynote speaker. But when I looked at him, I thought this might be what Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King himself might be saying if he had lived and it was 2023 and he happened to be in North Las Vegas. He might be saying what Reverend David Reed said, because what Martin Luther King would be looking at is not what he looked at in the 1960s. That's not the America we have today. We have a different sort of America. We have this America where all this violence is, you know, it's a different kind of a horrible thing. And so Reverend David Reed was saying, let's stop the violence by creating an environment where there's no violence to begin with, by creating blessed families. You know, that was, I just got to tell you, it was so well received. So there was about 61 people there. Several of them received the blessing. We had a blessing ceremony right there, including with the little forgive, love, unite, and indemnity stick. They loved that. Everybody loved that. But the mayor of North Las Vegas wasn't there, but heard about it. And at that same event, we had recognized as Parents of the Year on the national level for the civic category, the parents of North Las Vegas in the civil category. They won the national award. So we kind of put these two together, but it somehow, by linking those two, stop the violence by blessing the families, and then showing, oh, here's Parents of the Year. And the mayor of North Las Vegas parents were there. And then the son is the director of the Martin Luther King Center, and the daughter is the mayor of North Las Vegas. And so it's really a good example of how families produce families of goodness. And, you know, they're very God-centered. They're very, very moral people. And it was just a beautiful thing. So the only complaint we got was that how come more people weren't invited? When we went back there later, they said, we have to have more stop the violence events. You got to go to the sororities, the fraternities. You've got to go to the, you like the football teams and the sports teams. Tell them, you know, let's have the kids come to Martin Luther King Center and bring their parents. They say, well, Dad and Mom, I'm going to the Stop the Violence event, and you got to come with me, you know, because this is about through blessing families, you know, blessing the families. So it just snowballed. And then later we did meet the mayor of Las Vegas, same thing. She's very excited about that. She said, oh, the city of North Las Vegas. And I should just say to you, the city of North Las Vegas is not Las Vegas, but you wouldn't know it. If you just visit Las Vegas, you're driving, all of a sudden now it's North Las Vegas, you don't know that. But what happened historically, there was the reputation for Las Vegas, it was the Mississippi of the West. And that's where all the, you know, the Black entertainers like Sammy Davis Jr. and, you know, Aretha Franklin, well, they could entertain in the hotels, but they couldn't stay in the hotels. They couldn't drink the water there. They couldn't eat in the restaurants. They had to go to North Las Vegas to the Harrison House. That's where Reverend Reed is living now with Catherine Duncan Reed, you know. So that North Las Vegas is actually a red line zone where the Jim Crow, under the Jim Crow system, the Black people knew that they are supposed to go to, you know, because they couldn't buy houses anywhere else. That's how it worked. That's how the Jim Crow red line worked. So, and yet, in that kind of atmosphere, they love this, they welcome this. So I just want to say that what was said there, stop the violence by creating the environment where violence can never even begin. They just responded to it. Everybody was an outpouring, and they want more. So I just thought,
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Well taken, and congratulations on it. Today, I think it's my first time taking the reins and just giving a presentation. Normally I have a guest, but I was struck, we didn't have the person up on the queue. So I decided to deal with one of the topics that we didn't deal with succinctly through the other speakers, and that was stand your ground law. And so really thank you for that. But please come back and listen to some of our prolific speakers. What we have found is that in conjunction with what you just said, that where do you begin to help people engage in the mind frame that you just shared with, that they need to begin? There may need to be some reconstruction, if you will, in order for them to even get there, to that mind frame and the mindset. And so we've had prolific speakers here who were addressing it, and their best practices are absolutely beautiful. And a lot of their best practices, really, you can see there was a lot of love there, but there was a lot of reality there too. So what overrode everything in the violent behavior was the love that they received through the actions of these different people. We had community activists, law enforcement, religious leaders, all those people. And in the best practices, each one had substantial results, you know, that you can measure. And that's what we're looking for. What are we going to do to measure a result? So that I always feel the next step would be the education programs that we bring. I think Donna said in her, she's in Anchorage, the children are educated about conflict resolution, how to deal with bullying and control violence. But on the other side too, in conjunction with that, how do you begin to, if we can begin to educate or recultivate and massage their original minds? And that comes from the blessing, understanding what that really means. What does a family structure? Because a lot of people who are in the midst of these behaviors and conflicts don't have families, so they don't know what it really means. So how do we help them to deal with what I always say this, that God breathed the breath of life in our nostrils. And in that breath of life, he had his own, what they call it, programming that can never be expelled or extracted from any human being, but it's been suffocated with lies. It's been suffocated with huge and terrible experiences. But the right therapy and the spiritual therapy and all the other therapies that we need, we can touch the original self, and then they can reactivate it. And that is where their own self-governing will begin to play a critical part in their conduct and their behaviors, and them seeking to want to have the family that's really deep down inside them, but sometimes they don't know it because they have not experienced it. So in conjunction with what you just said was fabulous and awesome. And that touches the original minds of people, and they can see the possibilities, as well as we begin to deal with some of the things that were said here on I just read it quickly, some of the things that we were saying here, which people are addressing the issue in a constructive way, because we have to reconstruct people, their mindsets, their thinking, because of the environment they have been subjected to, has done horrible things to people. And so we want to thank everyone. I don't know, that was a really long one, Donna, that you wrote, but I will read it as we're coming to our close. I want to thank everybody. Through my prayer, you don't mind if I read it, do you? Yeah, it's there, right? So through my prayer, I'm recognizing that home-to-home outreach and bringing up a core value of grassroots neighborhood sharing about their issues. And this is what I'm talking about. Our previous speakers were showing us how they were enacting that, how they have facilitated that. I realize that there are additional issues that create divisiveness. That's a reality. And conflicts such as politics, current Republican and Democrats, Marxism and emphasis on growth and progress through conflict. We need to work up local connections that allow us to have discussions that bring understanding and look at how to work with mindsets. Now, Donna, I used the word mindset, but I didn't read that. I just read it now. So the mindsets, I hesitate to bring up the difficult to handle uncomfortable issues. I'm learning that I have to break out of my shelter viewpoints and work through dialogue. We can facilitate more dialogue with our local political public safety agencies. Department of Justice has a peacekeeping liaison center available to bring forward best practice, which is good practices and laws. It would be interesting to hear from the federal agencies about the stand your ground laws and their influence on the issues of our communities. Thank you so much for that. And it's true, there's a lot that we can discuss, and it speaks volumes. I want to thank everyone again for coming on, and I want to thank you, my brother. I was waiting for you to come. Where did he go? From Las Vegas?
Well,
Did he leave?
I'm still
Oh, okay.
here.
I can't see you. But yeah, I want to thank you for coming on. Always, Wayne, thank you so much. And Bill, you were just about to be called, but the brother stepped in. And everyone else, I want to thank everyone. Nadia, always thank you. EJ behind the scenes, thank you so much. And next week we'll have another speaker. I believe he's in law enforcement. And so we look forward to seeing you next week, and think about what you feel, because there's some different views on stand your ground laws. It's a very deep and very thought-provoking topic. Want to say God bless you. Thank you, Donna, for all you've shared with us as well. God bless you, and we'll see you next
you.
week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve, for your testimony. Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Zachary.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. We are really doing it here. Leading the way.
Dialogue is important too. Our speakers give us examples, but we need dialogue very much.
Yeah, dialogue is important. Yeah,
Yeah.
good.
Thank you,
Steve,
Claudia.
give him. Thank you. Oh yeah, Ray. Thank you so much for your
Yeah.
as well.
Steve, consider working with Leslie in Las Vegas.
Yeah,
She
definitely.
was right there. She was right there, right in the middle of it.
Yeah, that is very beautiful. And it opens up people's original mind because everybody seeks family and everybody seeks a partner, you know. And so I can see how powerful it is. Yeah. So give them my best regards, okay?
Will do. Will do.
Oh, thank you, Claudine.
Thank you,
Mhm.
Jeff. Great
Yeah.
program. Always great. Hi,
Yes.
Johnny.
Hey, nice to see you.
Yeah. Okay. Take care, everyone. God
Everyone.
bless.
God
Thank
bless
you,
you.
EJ.
Have a great day.
See you next week. Have a great one.
Bye, Johnny. Thank you, Papa. No, it was a program, Papa. Exactly. Bye, Bill.